Yo, what up? Welcome to Directly to You. It's episode 249, the penultimate normal episode of the Redirect podcast. I'm AJ. I'm joined by Parker. We're Redirect.
Hello.
We're collectively joined by Matt, also known as Thrillhouse, to talk about TooManyGames and the cool stuff that he makes. But before we do that, we're going to talk about the talk of the Nintendo community town. Because there's nothing else to talk about, apparently. Friggin' Xbox is buying all the stuff and doing all the things and whatnot, and the governments and regulatory members and stuff are like, nah, too much power. So they're having a court case. We don't care about that here. We're going to talk about it during our Patreon podcast if you want to hear our thoughts on that and all that stuff. But some Nintendo news is coming out of that, strangely enough, and I want to talk about that. So let's do that. Let's do that.
Yeah. First, should we go ahead and have Thrillhouse just plug his stuff real quick, and then we're going to talk a lot more about that.
Yeah, we're going to talk about all that
more later.
Stuff,
but Thrillhouse, where can we find you and everything?
You can find me on Twitter and Twitch at Thrillhouse198X. And then my Instagram is Needless Things DMV. My store is also needlessthingsdmv.com. Yep. So I got everything on there.
All that stuff.
I usually update evenly between Instagram and Twitter.
Mm-hmm. Nice.
So
yeah, check that stuff out in the description. You've seen us show his stuff before. We got both of us have stuff and things from Needless Things.
That's right.
It's true.
It's right there for Parker in the background if you're watching the video version. Mm-hmm. And we're going to talk about more stuff about that later when we talk about TooManyGames. But right now,
it's true.
The Switch stuff.
So yeah, this stuff. So it's interesting. So like you said, Microsoft's having all their stuff, and there's like little bits and pieces of Nintendo things coming out. Most of the stuff seems to be in regards to like how they view Nintendo, they view Nintendo as a competitor or not, or those kinds of things, which is less how the companies do and more how like the FTC is trying to figure out like, are they a competitor? Are they not? And various other things. And there's just some funny takes from, people who are outside of gaming now and like lawyery types trying to figure that stuff out. But the most pertinent thing that we got from this was Bobby Kotick, who nobody likes. But in any case, is the CEO of Activision Blizzard.
Confirmed.
And he... again, CEO of Activision Blizzard, and he gave a couple little tidbits about Nintendo Switch stuff, both for how he viewed the previous generation and also, we'll get to that as well. But the biggest thing is apparently in some documents talking about the power of next-gen Switch. So this is all just kind of a segue for us to get into how powerful theoretically the next-gen Switch stuff seems to be somewhat officially, I mean, not literally officially, but that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's interesting. Which is essentially that, here, I'll just read the tweet. This is from Benji at Benji Sales, said, just revealed Bobby Kotick and Nintendo have had active talks about the next generation Nintendo console. Also says that apparently next gen Nintendo console is close to Gen 8 power PlayStation 4/Xbox One. Then there's 2 deleted tweets, and I don't know what those ones are because they're deleted. But then there's another one that says, in other words, Bobby is saying that the console is aligned with Gen 8 power and knowing that it's reasonable to assume that they can make games for it, considering what they did with PS4 and Xbox One. He's not saying he's assuming the power level. And then last thing, some of this is redacted, so who knows if he was given exact specs or just rough performance targets. And then I'll just go ahead and throw this last one in so that we don't have to come back to it, but there was another tweet also from Benji Sales, but also somebody else said same kind of thing. Was that Bobby Kotick says he made a bad prediction for the Switch, said when he saw the prototype for the platform, he thought the console wouldn't perform well in sales, and says it was a bad decision on his part to not support it more.
Yeah.
What do you guys think?
I'm seeing a lot of like people complain about this. first of all, we don't know if any of it has any like validity to it in terms of like like hard numbers. We don't know what any of this means because most of the verbiage is like, oh, it's like around this power level. We heard that before. Like, in fact, like exactly this, where it's like pre-Switch coming out, when it was still Nintendo NX, people were talking about it's roughly around the Xbox One, right? It ended up being less powerful than the Xbox One, but it's around the Xbox One. You know, like we want to put it in teraflop terms. It's 1 teraflop, and the regular Xbox One is like 1.2 teraflops or something like that. So around, but under, right? So people see around and they assume under again. But in this case, it seems more like it's going to be how the Switch now, people talk about it being around PlayStation 3 or Xbox 360, but it is over those consoles. Not significantly, but like enough for it to be like quantifiable, you know? I think that if these like if this ballpark number is to be believed in terms of like where it's going to lie, I think that that's accurate, and that's the most that I would have expected out of it. Because I know that they don't want to release a console that's going to be $500-$600. But they still want a console that's going to like have them roughly in line with what third-party developers are going to be making, so they can also get their games. So like for me personally, I think that this is cool, you know, like I think if that's actually the target that they hit and we end up with like PlayStation 4 Pro or even a little lower than that in terms of power, and a tablet, that's fine for me. But what about you guys?
Matt,
I mean, I agree with that. I don't think it's going to be anything super crazy. And you know me, I don't really like gaming discourse in general because people just go insane with it. Like if it's not the PS6 level, it's nothing.
Yeah, exactly.
I also just anything that guy says, I'm taking with an extremely big grain of salt because I feel like he knows the deal might not go through or something like that, and that way he can keep making games for the next thing or show that they're going to make games for the next thing.
Yeah, because I mean, we're not going to go super into it, but from the sounds of it, it sounds like anything that Microsoft is talking about they want to do, like Bobby Kotick wants to go in the complete opposite direction. He doesn't want their games on Game Pass. He doesn't really want to work with Nintendo, you know. So like all the stuff that Microsoft is talking about right now, if it doesn't go through, that's probably not going to happen. But Parker, what do you think about this?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, generally agreed. And so like some extra thoughts are, in terms of the like, you know, validity of this and that kind of stuff, is that, you know, this information, again, like you said, it's ballparky for one thing. In the second tweet mentions that he's not saying he's assuming the power level, but just knowing that it's reasonable that that if they made games for those consoles, then they could make them for this as well. Right. So it's like, you know, at least that powerful or somewhere around that kind of a thing. And then also that like in theory, this information could be kind of old, you know, like I don't, nowhere does it say exactly when these things are from, but like in a world where, you know, this stuff is from like 2020 or something like that versus being from a couple months ago, like those would be two different stories. But all that and all those things kind of are, you know, feel like they're inflating the numbers a bit in terms of like, oh, it could be even more than what we're saying. But, which could be the case. Yeah. But then the other thing is that like I feel like people are looking at the PS4, Xbox One comparison thing in one of two ways, either in like, oh, but that's the last gen. And that's like that's around where they are now, like that kind of a thing. Yeah. Or are looking at like, oh, like God of War is a PS4 game and Forza Horizon, whatever, and like various other games. It's like, these are games that like still now are touted as like looking very, very good on the base PS4, for example. So like if, you know, not to say that I want games to look specifically like that, because like I'm not playing those kinds of games. That's why I don't have a PS4. But in terms of just like power and what that means for, you know, games being able to do stuff or whatever, like, that's absolutely, reasonable as far as like it still being a big jump in performance and things. And like, to be perfectly honest, like I think a lot of the games that we're getting from Nintendo especially are great looking games already, but with some like performance hiccups, and so if there's ways to not have to like super optimize them, but just that they, run, or that they do super optimize them, but at the same time that they're just on more powerful hardware, and they're like that's awesome too. So I think it's whatever the word is I'm looking for, but just being disappointed that it's like the last gen, quote unquote, is dismissive of what it, that actually could mean, all things considered.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, I think that like at the end of the day, like it's actually a developer thing, right? Because developers still now and have pretty much always treated each game on the consumer end as if they treat them on the development end equally, but they don't. They make one, maybe two major SKUs where they're like, okay, this is the PC target. This is the Xbox One and PlayStation 4 target. And then everything else that we ported to, it'll be based off of one of these two things. And it'll be like a like diluted version of one of those two things, right? Rather than like saying, wait, we're charging the same price for all of these games. We're charging the retail price on all of these platforms as if they're being created in the same way that a first-party studio would create these games. Why not invest the time, money, effort, manpower on making the version of the game as if that's the situation that we're looking at in terms of like how we're going to release and develop the game. I know that the argument there is going to be like, well, that's not realistic. That bloats there, blah, 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 all that stuff, right? But at the end of the day, I mean, like if you're investing less money in this game, then something's got to give somewhere. Like either you invest more money in making a more valuable game for the other hardware, or you charge less money to account for the fact that you're not investing as much money in creating these versions for the game. That's really my opinion on it. And they like the power of the Switch really, or the Switch successor, all that does is help them, right? Like that really doesn't have anything to do with Nintendo, because at the end of the day, they're going to make games that are still technically impressive on their hardware. Like even the things like Tears of the Kingdom, right? Like that has performance issues in certain scenarios, but look at what is happening in this game. Like it's not a situation of like, oh, the Switch is running poorly, or even look at Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. Look at what is happening in that game, and then compare it to Breath of the Wild. That's a development issue. That's not, the Switch can't handle this game. It's no, Game Freak doesn't know how to make video games, let alone an open world game that is trying to be on the same scale as a game like Breath of the Wild. They went from making 480i games on a handheld for 20 years into immediately being like 1080p development, make it as good as Breath of the Wild now. I
think people just assume to some degree that like more overhead means better results, just as a blanket thing. And I think, there's some things that just kind of fix it, probably some amount of performance type things, but also there's just like tons of cases where that's just not the case. And it's just like, oh no, it's just developed poorly. And like, I don't think, the next gen, if Pokemon Scarlet and Violet were the same exact games, but we had a Switch Pro, we had a Switch 2, whatever, they would look exactly like they look probably, but just not have some of the performance issues or whatever, but they would still be the same.
People were doing
lesser
that
quality games.
When Pokemon came out, they were putting it on the emulators and it was running better, but it still looked not great. It still had all the pop in and all that stuff.
Sometimes it ran worse because it was running like it was like, and by
it was going too fast.
Exactly, right?
Right.
So that's the other part of it, right? Where like when you play Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, the switches, the fans aren't kicking up, like the console doesn't get hot. It's not taxing the Switch. The game is just not optimized well at all. Like it's just like if you run it on the most powerful PC ever, it's still not going to run like Breath of the Wild does. I
mean, I remember somebody pointing out some thing where like there's I don't remember the details exactly, but like when you come out of an encounter, when you go into an encounter, something like that, there's like a little hiccup frame kind of something or other. And that some developer was like, yep, probably what that is that the game kept crashing every once in a while, or just sometimes would crash at that spot. So this is this kind of piece of code that does this thing. And it's just like, that's going to be there regardless. And it was like a fix to make that thing not happen. But like it running faster isn't going to change whatever that was. That was a terrible description. I apologize, but like, I mean, you get the gist.
I get what you're talking about.
Basically like the game sees that something is about to fall, and they put code in place that put their hand up and say, "Don't fall. Hold on. We're changing things real quick." You know, when you're driving, you know, like you'll be driving, and then you're about to make a turn, and then people will like reach over and like grab, like so that you know, it's like that sort of situation. So that's what that is. Like, I don't think that it really matters how powerful this platform is in terms of third-party developers. Ironically, that is the ones that is going to help the most, but they have to still, you know, like accommodate for the platform that they're working for. Like at the end of the day, no matter what we want, Nintendo, and by we I mean like the overall Nintendo community that's loud on the internet, they're not going to make another PlayStation, PC, Xbox clone. So regardless, we're going to run into similar situations like this, because at the end of the day, it is a dev issue. It doesn't matter what the Switch specs are, Switch 2, swap, whatever we want to call it. It does not matter. The games will be what they will be unless the developers decide that it is worth it to them to make them work on the platform as if they are first-party efforts.
Yeah, which that'll only happen if you get like the Mario and Rabbids games or something like that. But if it's anything that's going everywhere, that's not happening for a Switch.
Yeah. Or if it's a game
to your third party
point, or the next one,
like something like a Sonic game, or like a lot of times they'll like they become the main SKU. So they just have to either
Immortals Phoenix Rising.
Yep.
Exactly. Yet they still run worse on Switch.
Yeah, true. Yeah, to your point about third parties, especially, that like the nice thing is that even now, third parties are kind of still developing PS4 and Xbox One games for the PS5 and Xbox Series X by and large. Like the few games are like really, you know, taking advantage of that hardware. So that is like a powered level that I feel like a lot of developers have a pretty like a comfort level with right now, which means that like there's you know, a whole right now we keep getting PS3, Xbox 360 ports, up-res, whatever, or some like pared back PS4 ports like The Witcher 3 or, you know, those kinds of things. Assuming next gen Switch is, you know, this power level or whatever, then that means there's a whole new generation of games that are really easy to bring over and have there. But then also that, like, again, developers now, a lot of them do know the Switch architecture, and we assume that's probably going to stay. And like we've heard a lot of developers also say that like the Switch is really easy to develop for now as compared to in the past, because it's just not as like super unique or whatever. I guess
it's more straightforward and modern.
Yeah, and so that like their familiarity with that, and also familiarity with just like kind of that amount of overhead and what that'll look like, means that that's just a good thing all around, you know.
I think it's also like a question of like how good they are at supporting PC, ironically enough, because PC runs the gamut. There's $3,000 PCs that like they're the ones that they're rendering out the like gameplay trailers on to be like, look at how good our game looks. Look at the ambient occlusion, right? But also they still support like graphics that look like they came out on the OG Xbox. You know, like there's like YouTube channels dedicated to like quote unquote like potato specs and like looking at what all these modern games look like at the like lowest possible performance levels that the game will like go down to. So if they like better optimize what the lowest common denominator is, or worst case scenario even is, I think that will help everything else anyway, like without them even directly paying attention to the Switch. Because then if they make sure that like the base stuff, like the art assets and stuff like that, look as good as possible as they can on these lower performing specs, then on the Switch, then it's just the like custom part of the code of like, okay, you got to use you got to rely more on the CPU on this platform than you usually would, and rely on the GPU in this area and use this much RAM here and speed up this part, that sort of stuff. So
Yeah.
developers got to get better. Sure, Nintendo got to make sure that they are allowing for them to have like a baseline of like, okay, we need at least this much RAM. We need the processor, the GPU and the CPU to be at least able to output this much. But beyond that, it's up to them.
Yep.
So we good on this topic. We want to move on to Too Many Games?
Sure.
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, if you want to hear more stuff about that Xbox and Activision trial, again, check us out on Patreon. That podcast will be up at some point before the end of the month. We're going to record that after this. Too Many Games time. All right.
Yay.
We went to Too Many Games.
We did.
We did.
We could do, okay, so let's do it like a day by day sort of thing. I think that makes it the easiest to talk about. Your Too Many Games experience started on Thursday. So
It did.
what happened with that? I need the details on that because I didn't go Thursday.
I mean, that was pretty boring, luckily. It was my first time vending at a convention, and I wasn't sure I was going to go. And it went super smooth. We went, drove up to right outside of Philly, got everything set up, and that was it. Picked up badges, set up, and left and met up with friends for dinner, and that was all Thursday was.
And bowling. You guys went to the arcade.
Oh, and we went bowling.
And
Yeah, we went to the arcade.
Nice.
We went bowling, so that was fun. Did pretty good the first time. Did pretty bad the second time.
at the arcade or at bowling?
Bowling.
Okay.
Arcade I did pretty good at. I mean, it's hard to be bad at arcades. Although Kayla did beat me in Cruising Blast. But it is what it is.
Yeah, it happens. You don't play video games. All right.
No, I don't. Just put them on a shelf.
True.
But yeah, no, that was Thursday. And then Friday, we got finished setting everything up. And it was much busier than I thought it was going to be. We weren't, shared a booth with Kim, and we both kind of thought the Friday would be the slow day, and it wasn't. It was pretty busy. So that was good. And then AJ ended up coming up.
Sure.
Because you weren't going to come up till Saturday.
So initially,
also, the days all blend together for me, so my time frame might be off.
I mean, you're right so far. So my whole thing was usually when I go to Too Many Games, just because it's so close, I only go one day. I only go Saturday because that's like the day that everybody comes. Usually that's when people's meet and greets are and like all that good stuff. Or at least the people in our circle like Bob and Wood and all them, right? It usually happens on Saturday. But this time, you guys came, you guys had the booth, brought youth. My friend Ebe, I invited him to come. So people wanted to do stuff on more days. So I was like, okay, cool. Let me see if I can do Friday. The way that we got there, usually what I do is I'll take the train. And what I was going to do is I was going to take the train back and forth all of the days that I went. But then I just talked to my brother and I was like, yo, Eve's coming. He'll drive us and we'll just do it like that because it's way cheaper and also easier to do because we don't have to worry about Ubering everywhere or doing whatever.
Nice.
So I like Ebe calls me and he's like, yo, AJ, you want to go to the convention today? And I was like, I mean, I wasn't planning on it, but we can do that. So then I called my brother. Well, actually, no, Ebe called him and he was like, yo, you want to go to the convention? My brother was like, oh, I didn't do the stuff that I needed to do to the car. So I can't do it today. He just needs the oil change. We got the oil change. And then we were like, okay, let's go to Too Many Games. So we head there. Before that, I'm like talking to youth because she got the badge through me. I ordered the badge because like how our badges work anyway is our management hits me up and they're like, yo, you going to Too Many Games? I'm like, yeah. And they're like, how many badges you need? And I said, initially, I just was like, give me 2. And then they hit me up again and were like, yo, you need more badges? Like, yeah, give me 2 more. So I got 4. Ended up only needing 3, but they gave me 4 for just in case. So I'm talking to youth. I'm like, yo, I already put the badge in your name. You can just go there and be good. So then she's like, okay, cool. And then she messaged me again. She's like, I don't know if that's gonna work, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, okay, I'm going to come. And then that whole thing happened at first with the oil change. So maybe I wasn't going to be able to come, but it ended up being a thing. So then I got there and then met up with you guys and was like, oh, what's happening here? What are you guys doing? And I didn't even know, because again, my experience going to Too Many Games is as like content creator media, just hanging out there. So like usually we're out by 6. We're out of there. So I'm like, oh, okay, I'm probably going to get there. We're probably going to go out to eat, hang out and stuff like that. And you guys are like, nah, it doesn't close till 9. And I was
nope.
like, oh, I was like, okay.
Wow.
Yes, it's a long day.
Goodness
I
gracious.
was like, all right, I didn't know it was still open that long.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it is crazy. So we're
Yeah,
hanging
that's
out
what
at
Wood
the
and
booth.
Kim were saying too. Or that's what everybody was saying.
Oh, they also, that makes sense because usually that's the squad.
Yeah.
So we got there, we hung out for the rest of the time at the booth. And then the party was Friday. Right?
Yeah, party was Friday.
Yeah. So we went to
And that was fun on my end when you guys were figuring out the whole ride situation, because you were messaging me saying you were on your way, and then Youth was messaging Kayla saying that you weren't coming today. So I went back and told her, and she's like, wait, no, you said he's not coming, but we got it all straightened out though.
Yeah, because I'm like, and that's the other part of it. So I'm like talking to Matt and on Twitter, and then you send me your number, and I was like, okay, cool. If I need that, I'll use that. But we're already in Twitter. I didn't need to tell you anything urgent, so I was just like, all right, I'm just gonna do it on Twitter. And then I'm talking to you, and I tell Youth, I'm like, I told her all the same stuff that I was like. That's why she told Kayla that, because I was like, yo, I talked to Sam.
Yeah.
Sam said that more stuff needed to be done to the car, so probably not going to go until tomorrow. And then, because he didn't tell me what needed to be done with the car, but then he told Ebe what had to be done with the car, and he was like, I'm just going to go and get the oil change. And then it was like, okay, bet, we're going to go. So then I messaged you, because I figured you would know what is happening with everybody and would be more attentive than Bob. So I was like, okay, what's going on?
It's a safe bet.
Yeah, what are you guys doing? And then once I was on my way there, I was going to hit up Youth and be like, I did see. The thing is, like, I also told her, but I told her a little bit later than you. So I guess that got lost in translation. Streams got crossed, so on and so forth. So yeah,
We got it all sorted.
got there and then hung out, and then we went to the party.
Yeah, we went to the rave.
Yeah, the Screen Wave rave. Which was
Yeah,
like
that
it was like at a well, I'm not going to say the exact location because I don't know if they're going to do it again.
Yeah.
But it was at like this family center thing that people are apparently familiar with. I've never been there, but they were like, they're having it.
I think
there.
that part of it.
Yeah,
I think
called
that part of it was
Chuck E.
open to
Cheese.
anybody.
yeah. So there's like
I said yeah.
there's like an adult section, and then there's like the kids like hang out, Chuck E. Cheese equivalent, and it was at the adult side. But whenever people heard where it was like being held at, they're like, there. So like,
Yeah.
you're having a quote unquote rave there. So we get
Yeah.
there, and like when I don't know, because again I get there, so we were gonna walk because it was very close, but again, my friend Ebe, you're gonna hear some Ebe stories. Ebe he's
Are we
out
gonna hear
there.
Sonic sales numbers?
Oh my god, Ebe's out there. So we're like, all right, we're gonna walk here. Ebe's not listening to us. He goes and he walks freaking however far away he parked the car and gets the car, and then we're walking. He drives up to us and he's like, yo, I'm driving to the place. And I'm like, what the? So then he's like, get in the car, and I'm like, but I'm walking with them, I don't want to leave them. And then when I'm talking to Eve, everybody dips and I turn around and I'm like, oh, okay, I guess I'm going with Eve. So we get there and I walk up to the front of like with the people that are like you know, like, oh, welcome to the park, because it's open to the public, but there's a VIP area for creators and exhibitors and stuff like that. So I'm like, yo, do I gotta like check in with somebody? Do I gotta do anything like that? And then he's like, no, it's open to the public. So then I see Youth and I see Matt and Kayla, and they're like, all right, cool, and they're walking into the area, and then he stops me. And he's like, "Oh, this is for VIPs." I was like, "Yeah, I know. I'm on the list. That's why I asked you if I had to check in anywhere." It's like, oh, so that was the thing, and we just hung out. People played pool. Ebe told me I had to drink alcohol because he couldn't drink alcohol, so I did that. That was Friday.
Yep, Friday in a nutshell.
Sounds like a fun time.
Saturday.
Yeah. Saturday, similar to Friday, we went to the convention, got everything set up again. That was pretty crazy because it was busy last year.
Oh yeah, towards the end of the day.
Yeah, and then they did all the vendor emails. They were saying how they had gotten more inquiries about tickets than they had before, and they had sold out of a couple of the day passes. But I also kind of figured they were just telling vendors that because I don't know if people know this, but vendors have to pay for tables and passes and all that stuff. But it was very busy there. So I'm glad we had the big booth, so we had a little buffer from everybody, so we had some breathing room. But that was pretty crazy. And then I think Wood and Bob had their panel.
Yeah, that's what
at like midday or something crazy. Like that. Yeah, so they had their panel, so they go off and do that, and then Kim and I had a rush at the booth of probably like, I don't know, 10, 15 people buying stuff, so we were like going back and forth with the iPad and taking people's money and change and handing everything, and I check somebody out, and as I turn around, there's literally just a wall of like 200 people around the booth, because we didn't know, but they had just ended their panel, and they had a bunch of games to give out. Yeah, and they basically said, all right, come over here to get this panel, and like I turn around and see this, and I look up, and Bob and Wood both look like deer in headlights, like didn't realize that this was going to happen, and both realizing at the same time this was not a good idea. So they kind of pied. It wasn't a bad idea. It wasn't a bad idea. If there was like a line, maybe, but this was just like 200 people just crushing into a corner.
Oh my goodness!
So they kind of pied pipered everybody out of there and over to their signing area, and then after that we had a slow trickle of people saying, Wood gave me a game, he said I have to come buy something. So we had like 3 or 4 people that did that, so that was nice of them. But
that's nice.
So my POV on that moment was I'm sitting there, I'm talking to you, I'm talking to Kayla. Was this, I think I'm pretty sure this was before the cult thing. This was before the cult.
This was before the cult thing.
Okay, so Matt's booth was like across from the monster booth. And there's this dude, and he's like yelling something, and they're giving out free monster, and I'm like, this is a cult meeting. And Kayla's like, they're giving free monster. I'm gonna go get one. And then You's like, I want one, and then I'm like, sure, I'll get one. And everybody got the monster, and I'm like, I think this means we joined
part of the cult.
But with that, we're talking about that situation, LOL, monster cult, that sort of thing. And there, you know, we saw the initial like influx of like the 10, 15 people or whatever. And we're like, oh, okay, that's pretty cool. It's picking up. And then I look up, and I'm surrounded by people. Like I'm like sitting like on the outside of like where the booth is, like Thrill's in the middle. I'm sitting on the outside. I'm talking to Youth, and she's like the next to me or whatever, and I look up and we're surrounded. Like we can't walk out because there's people on all sides of the booth. And I'm like, okay, this is happening. And then I see Bob and Wood, and they're like, hey man, we told him we were coming over here. That's how it happened. I'm like, all right. So that lasted like
we didn't mean to do this.
So that lasted like, I don't even know, like 30, 40 minutes or something like that. And then they like slowly trickled out. And then the rest of the day was pretty normal, I think, as far as the con is concerned. Then after that, we went out to eat first, right? We didn't go to the hotel.
We went and got some wings.
I'm not going to say where we usually go because I'm sure people are going to want to go there again. But we usually go to this place. It sucks. It's bad, but a creator that I'm not going to mention insists on going to this place every year, and I'm like, so the first time I ever went, 2018, me and Bob. I'm driving with Bob or whatever, and Bob's like, all right, let's stop in, let's read the room, see if we want to go here. We walk in and immediately we do the Homer meme, or the old man in the Simpsons when he puts the hat down.
I get that reference.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you get the reference more than me. And we immediately walk out because we're like, this place is an L. The next year we went and it was fine. But after that it was terrible. They had it was barbecue wings, but it was basically marinara sauce on these wings, and we're like, this place is terrible. We are never coming back here again. So we went somewhere else, and that place is all right.
I think everybody was in agreement that place last year wasn't good anymore.
It was so bad. But there was people were still talking about going there. They're like, it was just the one time. It was
just the 1 year
time. Yeah, exactly. It's never ever been good enough for that. Granted, again, me and Bob we walked in and walked out. Maybe they had the best wings of all time in 2018. Maybe, but it was just, it just was not conducive with what we were trying to do. We got out of the convention, loud, crowded place. We're trying to hang out and talk. We don't want to be in another loud, crowded place.
I get that.
So we dipped in it, but we didn't go there this time. The food here was fine. It was okay. It's all right.
You should got the wings. The wings were pretty banging.
Oh yeah, I didn't get the wings. I got a Philly cheesesteak chicken cheesesteak. Actually,
had some Korean barbecue wings. Those were pretty money. Great. Yeah, they were real good.
Oh, even before this, we missed this part at the convention still. Skip this, because I tweeted about it a little bit. But Ebe, I don't even know where this comes from. But Ebe is talking to Scootish and Fried Biscuits, and they're talking about the best Sonic game. And Eve's because so my friend Eve, he's a gamer. He plays games. He shows up in the Twitch chat every once in a while. But he's not that much of a gamer where he knows that much. But he is the type of person, he likes stirring the pot. He likes getting the rise out of people. So usually he'll do that.
He's pretty good at it.
Yeah, exactly. Usually he'll do that because he knows a decent amount of stuff, and he'll talk you under the table about the thing that he knows. But here he knew he was out of his depth, and he knew that it would just be funny to just say a random thing. So he hears people talking about Sonic, and he's like, "Yo, best Sonic game of all time is Mario and Sonic at the Olympic Games. It's the best game. It's sold the best. It's reviewed the best. You're just
the revenue.
Wrong if you disagree.
You can't forget the revenue.
Yeah, the revenue. That comes up later. You're spoiling.
My bad.
So we go through this whole debate. Well, they're going through this whole debate. Fried Biscuits and Scootish. I'm like, because again, knew this man for more than half my life. I'm like, don't engage. He is wasting your time.
And I listened to AJ, and I walked away once AJ said that.
I was like, don't engage. Don't waste your time because you're going to get tight, and that's all he wants from you right now. And he's like, I'm telling you, it did 1.2 billion, and that's all he said. He said 1.2 billion, and they're talking about sales, so they're thinking units sold. And him saying 1.2 billion, they're like, what? What are you talking about? Mario hasn't even sold 1.2 billion.
Such an absurd number.
Yeah, it's crazy. So I'm like, he's talking about dollar sales, and he's wrong, and he knows he's wrong. So there's no reason to argue with him about this right now. So fast forward to when we're eating, and Bob's there, and then Jackson and Fried Biscuits and Scootish are talking about, and they see Bob pull up to our table, and they're like, "Yo, did you know that Sonic Mario at the Olympic Games is the best?" And that just was the thing that followed us the whole time. And I'm like, "Oh my god, I told you guys not to engage with this, and you're engaging with it again."
Oh no, every time I've talked to Biscuit since, he brings up Sonic and Mario.
Yeah, tweeted it.
He's about to get blocked across everything.
He tweeted it, and I retweeted it, and I was like, oh my god, I have a headache already. Without the context.
Yeah.
But here's the context if you were wondering, if you saw that tweet. So that was that. That was that day. Well, actually, that wasn't the full day. Then we went back to the hotel. And there was
then you and Bob recreated the Switch commercials.
Yeah, true. So part of this, there's I think I talked about this on the podcast. There's these all button controllers that are like fight sticks, but they're buttons. I went to try it because Mars is like switching to it full time in Smash Brothers because there's like some advantages with certain characters and also better for hand health and more comfortable in the long run. So I wanted to try it because these controllers are like $200 and or more. So I was like, Bob, I know you have one of these. Bring it to TooManyGames. I want to try it. So Bob's like, all right, bet, I'll bring it. Bob didn't say bet. Bob doesn't say bet. If Bob says bet, yell at him because he's too old to say that. But anyway, so he brings that, he takes it out of his bag, and I'm trying it, and then that, it was a Switch commercial, basically. People started like looking and seeing what we're doing. The Aeon guys, the Aeon people that make the GameCube, just like
the HD adapters,
HD adapters,
HDMI adapters.
Yeah. They see that we're doing that, and then that became this whole thing. So I'm trying it. I don't like it. I hate it. Granted, Bob said, and I agree with him, that is definitely a thing that like I would have to like sit with it to actually know for sure that I don't like it. It's not as like intuitive to me as somebody that played with a controller all my life to pick it up and play with it like that. And Bob was like, the whole time when he's like trying to like explain it to me, he's like, oh yeah, it's just like a fight stick. Just use it like a fight stick. I'm like, Bob, I'm not 82 years old. I don't play no fighting games on no fight stick. My first time playing a fighting game is with a controller. So that's how I understand fighting games.
I'm feeling attacked by that.
I mean, hey, you're part of the olds.
I know. It's almost past my bedtime.
Yeah, I was concerned about that.
No, I remember when he first got that one, it took him like, I want to say 2 hours till he started being like somewhat comfortable with it. And that's with him using that 8-bit do all the time.
Yeah,
or
exactly.
8-bit do.
And plays games with control. I mean, with keyboard and all that. So there's crossover there. For me, zero.
Yeah.
There's none. I'm like, why is jump here? Why is there this many shield buttons? How do I grab? And I'm like,
you pretty much have to unlearn how you play just to learn how to use a new controller.
Right. On top of the fact that there's stuff that I just do in my everyday play of Smash Brothers that Bob doesn't know how to do on a controller. So me trying to be like, how do I FRAR on this? And Bob's like, what does that mean? Like this or
I have no idea.
We had to connect the Pro Controller. I had to show him what that means and then explain the input to him so that he can try to break it down and understand how to do it on the thing. So long story short, I don't think I'm going to invest in that, but it was fun. We did have a mini Switch commercial going on there. And then
that's awesome.
I dipped. Before I dipped, I like talked to Bob and we were talking about like, okay, what's plans for tomorrow? Are you guys leaving? Because he was talking about they were going to leave early and stuff like that. And then most people I had talked to said, yeah, probably going to head out like early on Sunday. Probably not even going to go to the convention center. Bob went to the convention center because Eric Henley, and Kate MCat, they were going to be there, but they were only going to be there on Sunday. So he was going to go to the convention center and then leave. I was like, it's not really worth me doing all that to go to the convention center, drive. It's not that far, but it's like an hour and 20 minutes or something like that. I'm going to drive.
Yeah, if you're not already there.
I'm going to walk into the convention center for a few minutes and then leave and then drive home immediately an hour and 20 minutes again. I'm good on that. Especially like
that's a bit much.
If it was like a whole thing where people would like, even if we didn't stay at the convention center the whole time and we just dipped and then went out and did something, that would have made it more worth it. But people are going home, so it was like, I don't think I'm gonna do that. So how was Sunday for you?
It was good. Sunday was slow. We thought Sunday might be a little more busy with people just spending whatever they had left, but I think everybody was getting all the really expensive games and stuff they were waiting on. But yeah, it wasn't bad. Did get to meet Eric and Kate, which was cool.
Nice.
And
y'all
other than that,
next year. I would have passed or something. Jesus.
Yeah, I think they were trying to come earlier, if I remember correctly, but the Saturday passes were sold out.
Oh,
I think that's what
You
happened.
should have told me. You should have said
Well,
something.
I didn't know that.
Not
They didn't
you,
tell
I'm
me till they
talking
got
to them.
there.
I'm talking to them.
Yeah.
They should have told me. I had an extra
Well,
pass.
now they know.
I could have got more passes. I'm sure Bob could have got passes.
Yeah.
Let us know.
I think I could have just gone and grabbed some vendor badges. They would have had to work. Even though Eric promised to work.
I mean, they probably would have did
But-
that. They probably would have did that.
Yeah. Eric held a sign for a couple seconds. So that was enough. But yeah, and then that was about it. We got packed up. We luckily, AJ, you know how bad the rain was up there on Sunday. As soon as we got the last thing loaded in the car, it just started pouring down. So that was good timing. But yeah, that was it. Took Kim home, and then that was the day.
Sick.
And the first convention was wrapped up.
Yeah.
So what are thoughts? You're going to do 2024?
Yeah, for sure.
Nice.
I think we both learned a lot. I need to make a lot more. The Sonic ice cream pops I made sold out the first day. Which Bob was actually the first person to buy one or buy anything there. And he said he felt bad because they sold out. I'm like, I mean, I still sold out of them. It wasn't like somebody was like, I'll only buy it if there's one there.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, which I had more of those made, but I just didn't have time to get them finished because it's just been crazy busy the last 2 months. So this past 2 weeks, I was up till like 3 every night painting and sanding and doing all that noise. But yeah, it was good. So Kim and I had already talked about it. We're definitely going to do next year, as long as they don't go jack up the prices on the tables any higher, because they were already a little bit high. But but yeah, no, it was good. So it was a fun weekend.
Nice.
How much of everything, like numbers, how many things did you make to bring, and how many of those things sold? I mean, you can ballpark it because
I think I brought 20. I think I had 26 cartridges. I sold 21 of them.
man.
I made 9 of the. I haven't posted them yet, but I made 3 different Zelda stained glass pieces.
Yeah, those are cool.
I thought I would sell at least one set of those. I ended up selling one of them to Wood after the show.
Nice.
And then I sold 8 Sonics and like 30 of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles ice creams.
That's awesome.
So, and I brought some cutting boards that I had made a while ago, and sold one of those too. So yeah, it was a good weekend. Definitely sold more than I expected. So
Yeah.
I think that
When I told Ashley that you were going to be on the podcast today, I was like, yeah, he made the Blastoise. And she was like, oh, and the cutting board that I was like, oh yeah, that's right. We use that.
I forget that I make cutting boards too.
I saw somebody talking to Kayla about the cutting board, because she was like, she was the lady that was like talking about buying it. She was like, I would buy that, but you know, I would want to use it as a cutting board. And Kayla's like, yeah, that's what they're for. And she's like, yeah, but I don't want to mess
That's
it
the
up.
point.
And then she's like, Kayla's like, that. I mean, that's what they're for. You're not gonna mess it up. I promise
Yeah.
you. We use it all the time. And she's like, yeah, but
They're
I'll mess it
tough.
up. I'm like,
Like, that's why I marketed them as charcuterie boards, because you just set stuff on them and you're good to go.
Yeah.
You don't have to cut on it. But yeah, the one that sold was pretty. I was glad it sold because I liked that one a lot. It was. I mean, AJ, you won't like it because it's an old game. But it was the Space Invaders screen, so it looked like just the arcade screen. It was pretty cool. But yeah,
awesome.
Bob and Wood both have a cutting board, and they use it all the time as cutting boards, and it has held up. So that's good to know.
nice.
Because it should, but you never know.
Next time you need to have like an iPad that just has like an infomercial from Bob and Wood, and say you can use it as a cutting board.
Yes.
Look at, and it's
So
like, Bob's going to be extra dramatic, and he's going to take a big butcher knife and slam it in there.
Take a
It'll
Buster
be
sword
fine.
to it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I had actually planned to. I have a little monitor I bought. It looks like an old retro monitor, but I think it's an iPad screen in it. And I have the same little media player. I think Bob told me about it. That'll just loop videos. I planned to have a video going of like showing my reels and stuff of me making things and that kind of stuff. But I could not get Resolve to stop crashing on Wednesday night at like 1 a.m. So that didn't happen. But
I mean,
because that was the other thing I had a lot of was
to make the thing. Like
Yeah, just to splice them together.
No, hit me up.
Yeah.
I would have did that.
Well, it was like 1 a.m. on Wednesday.
Did that.
I know you could have.
I would
but
have done
I don't
that.
like. All right, well, I'll keep that in mind for next time. But I don't like bugging people.
You're bugging me more by not doing it.
I know. But that was the other thing that I had to. I wanted to make some more signs to kind of like say what everything was. But I was like, people will tell what it is. Like, it's clearly like everything's made out of wood. You can see the wood grain and all that. I had probably 100 people either ask or you could hear them say, "Oh, look at that 3D print." And look at that. And I'd have to hand the thing to them off the wall. Like, no, it's actually all solid hardwood. It's all carved. So that was something. So next time I'll bring one that's not painted so you can clearly see without having to be told or handed.
Mm-hmm. I think that was a big thing too, where like probably should have more of the popsicles, because like that's a price point that people feel ready, like most people when they're walking around the convention center, to be like, yeah, I'll pay that. But like people would see the Zelda thing and the Twilight Princess mirror thing, and they'd be like, "That's cool. How much is that?" Probably thinking, "Oh, yeah, I could probably give him like $50 for this." And you're like, "No."
I had somebody say $50.
Yeah, exactly.
As I was getting ready to say the price, they're like, "Oh, $50." I was like, "There's probably like."
It's 4 times
$70 worth of epoxy in it, not including my time and everything else.
Yeah,
but,
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So like, because
people for the most part were good.
Like, and I'm sure
Only had one person cringe.
There's like a lot of people that like would go to the booth and would definitely want to buy something, but it's just outside of the price range that they would spend. And I think like the popsicles are like a perfect happy medium. Because it's something that people see in there.
And I feel like that's the kind of thing where like you get something small and then they'll see that in the future and be like, man, I remember that. You know, like there were all those other cool things, and then save up some money and get it.
Exactly.
Next time,
yeah, that's why I did those, because one, I just wanted to make them because I remember getting those. But yeah, it's at that price point where I know for me, like if I see something, it's at a price where I'll just get it. Exactly. You don't even think about it.
Exactly.
So yeah, definitely have more of those, and it was another thing that I wanted to do, but I just didn't have time. But I have designs ready for other characters and stuff like that. So probably go heavy on those. Only go one big piece, and then Powerpuff Girls. Kayla has requested that multiple times.
Those are the ones. When I think of those popsicles, it's the Spider-Man, it's the Ninja Turtles, it's the Powerpuff Girls, it's Sonic. And Pikachu, there's Pikachu ones too, but those 4.
I think there's a
Pikachu one.
I can make one.
There's definitely a Pikachu one. Yeah. The only thing that I don't think they have a Mario one, which is kind of weird.
They did. That was probably before your time.
Oh yeah.
Because that was before my time. But I remember seeing the old faded picture of it on the ice cream truck.
Okay, gotcha. But yeah,
it looks cursed.
It does not look like Mario at all.
It's bad. Oh no, it's like Mario mixed with like a Boo, kind of. I'm gonna put it in the chat. Oh no, I'm afraid for my life.
Oh no.
But yeah, no, that's so cool. Out of curiosity, what is, of all the designs that you've made, do you have a favorite?
I think right now, I just did some pictures of the Mirror of Twilight, and that looks awesome. When it's all, cool. I just put one on Twitter, I don't know, right before we started. But as far as the cartridges, it's got to be Samus. That one looks pretty sick. And I had a lot of, those went quick. I had 3 more of them made. I just didn't have time to get to painting them, because those went pretty fast, especially, look at that thing.
Cursed.
It's crazy.
So bad.
The visor and everything glows in the dark, but obviously couldn't see that in the convention center. But my Kayla's dad, my future father-in-law, he had the great idea to go to Lowe's, which is by the convention center, and get a UV light so you could see it glow in the day. And as soon as we got that, we sold the first one, and then the other 2 went. So
that's
more
awesome.
Samus or more Metroid stuff in general, because I had a lot of people asking about Metroid stuff.
That's another wrinkle to this that contributed to the busy thing. You're also getting married.
Yeah. But honestly, Kayla's handling all that, at least for now, because she knew I'd be busy for this. So now I have to get to wedding projects. So I got to knock those out, and then I'll get back to making more things for Needless Things.
Man.
But
well, I'm looking forward to 2024. Should be cool.
Yeah, me too.
We'll have more ironed out. Like, okay, you guys come Thursday, so I'll come Thursday.
Yeah,
I'm
getting more planned out.
Going here for years, and I have my routine. Usually now it changes because now I have the friends that do vendor stuff. But yeah, that was that. We could do the rest of the show now. We usually went into other news. We don't have any other news, do we?
Nope.
We don't have other news. So now it's just what we're playing. Matt doesn't play games ever, so. He's not playing.
It's a fact. It's a fact. That's true.
Are you playing video games, Parker?
Yeah, mine's pretty straightforward. It's a little thing called Tears of the Kingdom. I will say I downloaded the demo for Pikmin 4 because that came out, last night or whatever.
Yeah.
And it hadn't downloaded fully by the time. Actually, I was like about to go to sleep and put my Switch away, and then it said it's downloaded, and I was like, sleep. So I did sleep instead. At this point, I'm wondering, maybe I just wait until I play the game because I know I'm going to get it. So it's a question of whether I want a little taste now or not. So in any case, haven't played it yet. But yeah, Tears of the Kingdom. Just doing more of the same kind of things. And last week I mentioned the lesson that I'd learned, which was to actually take my time with everything and not just kind of skip over stuff. And then the next day after talking about that, YouTube gave me a video that was basically, it was the title was something along the lines of can you play Tears of the Kingdom wrong kind of a thing. And basically kind of, yeah, which is doing that. And so this whole week I've been playing the better way, which is just, stumbling on stuff as I stumble on it. And I've been having a grand old time, and I haven't made any capital P progress, but I've been having a grand old time. And that's
the best way to play that game.
That's what counts.
I think that is the most common, especially traditional Zelda fans. When I hear that, I don't like the Breath of the Wild formula, it's because they're all trying to play it like it's a traditional Zelda game, and that optimizes all of the fun out of it, all of it. Yeah, because it's not structured like that. It's not structured like I got to get the bombs, and then I got to get the boomerang. And then I got
you're supposed to just stumble upon it and then be like, oh, this cool thing. What's this over here? Oh, wow, look at that thing.
Yeah.
And I mean, the number of things that you just, I don't know, there's so many things that you can just miss, and it's not like they're the biggest features that the game has to offer by any means. Most of the biggest features are within kind of the more suggested story beats kinds of things. But there's just tons and tons of little joyful things that happen that you could super easily miss.
Right.
And, the little things also make the big things feel that much bigger as well. So it just all balances out.
I think especially if you play it just as stuff comes, because all that stuff snowballs. It's you can see a horse. You're you start the game, you're I want to get a horse. And then on your way to getting a horse, you see that there's a shrine in the distance. Oh, okay, I'm gonna get that shrine. But on the way to the shrine, you fight a mini boss, and you're what the heck is a Gleeok? And then you fight the Gleeok, and then you run away from him because F that. And then you go back to get your horse, and then you get your horse, and then you stumble on a cutscene that's yo, our village is dying. I need your help. And then you're okay, bet I'll go there. And then you go there, and then you see, oh man, there was a falling island there. Let me recall that, and then go to the sky. And all that's just. But if you're going through the menus and be okay, the menu tells me I got to go to this place, and then you go to that place.
I need to go to this glowing dot right now.
Yeah, exactly. It removes all of that. It removes all of those cool little stories that you can tell of I was going to a shrine, and then I got hit on the head by a Stalnox, and
yeah. I will say this week, I guess last night when I was playing, or the night before or something, I beat Age of Calamity back when that came out. And there were a couple locations that I definitely experienced more in Age of Calamity than in Breath of the Wild, where just some spots that I went to, but didn't spend as much time in or whatever. Specifically the Akala Fortress kind of area. There were a whole bunch of levels in in Age of Calamity around that.
Yeah,
Whereas
like
when
a
I
whole
went
section.
there, yeah, like, and so, you know, it really got ingrained in me, like where that area is. And I got really familiar with it. And I think there were also just a lot of parts of it where you had to kind of go back and forth between certain bits, or whatever, you know? So there have been certain areas of the map that have been fun to revisit now, not just with the hindsight of Breath of the Wild and the world in there, but also like thinking of them specifically that one because it was like the fortress and there was a lot of battles, you know, in Age of Calamity, that now seeing it kind of and thinking back to the battle that happened 100 years ago or whatever in this location, it was just a fun little thing, you know, because it's different geographically. Like everything in Age of Calamity is more condensed, but still it's got the, you know, kind of major landmarks and all of that. So that's kind of where I left off the last time I played, I guess, was somewhere right around there. So I'm excited to keep kind of exploring that area and seeing what else is different. But I noticed a Gleeok, so I guess I'll probably fight that.
Good luck.
Yeah, seriously. I need to go back and I have like one thunder resistant thing or lightning resistant piece of armor. So I'm probably not going to try to mess with any lightning Gleeoks because that's
Smart.
not going to go well. But I do want to go back and just like find one of the fire or ice ones, and I haven't actually gone back and beat one yet.
One of those. I wanted to because like I was talking, so I thought that it was just like, oh, I probably need like a certain kind of weapon here because I didn't try to engage with it. I swung my sword at it. It did no damage, and I said, okay, I'm out of here. But I was talking to Trav, and Trav was like, oh no, you just gotta like headshot it, and I was like, oh. Didn't even try that.
Yep.
Yeah, I thought it was going to be like the Wizrobes where, there's an ice one. Let me shoot a fire arrow at it, and it'll like one-shot it. That did not happen.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Because I was like, oh, okay, this is a fire Gleeok. I have an ice sword. You know, like, I'll attack that. Nope. Did not work out.
Yeah, I think I've taken 2 of them down. It's definitely fun. It's a fun new mini boss.
Yeah, I gotta.
I'm excited to. I don't know what rewards come from that yet, but you know, I'm excited to do it, and it's just a nice little time. Mark said I fought one Gleeok and burned through about 100 arrows, and that sounds right.
Yes.
There's one point in the game that had like 400 some arrows, and that was a nice time. I'm still always somewhere above 200, but I need to go do some things. I will not buy arrows. Like I will only scavenge them.
There was a point in the beginning of the game where I had many arrows, and then there was a point in the game not too far after that where I had none. And I was like, I can never find
you in
arrows.
the depths?
Now every time I don't even know. I was just doing stuff. Cause like in the opening area of the game, I would assume for most people, I'm sure you can like circumvent that and go somewhere else or whatever. Like they just throw arrows at you. Every single chest has arrows in it. Every box has arrows in it. Every enemy's giving you arrows. There's arrows all over the place. So I had like 200 arrows. And then I left that area, and that's not really the case in a lot of the other areas. So I didn't have any arrows. So then I started buying them because I have so much money. Like I still have money from when I did that first little hunting excursion.
Man,
I still have.
I need to go do that.
I still have like 30,000 rupees. Matter of fact, I think I still have like 40. I have like 40,000 rupees. So I'm like, I don't care about money. I'm rich. So I just buy arrows every time. But now I am in that position where I have like 200 arrows at any given time.
Nice.
But still, every time I see freaking Beetle, I'm like, give me every arrow that you've ever had.
Yeah, let me get those arrows.
But yeah, I mean, I haven't played.
That's what I'm playing.
I haven't played Tears of the Kingdom at all this week. I was gonna play it yesterday on stream. Freaking some breaking the fourth wall stuff. Usually, on days that I stream, like 2 p.m. I'm like, okay, what do I feel like doing today? So I go to Twitch and I title the stream and I do the like go live notification. I do the tags. I did that for Tears of the Kingdom because I was like, I'm gonna play Tears of the Kingdom. And I thought about it. I was like, no, I'm tight because yesterday. So yesterday, in the context of Wednesday, so Tuesday. I mean, actually, it was Monday. It was Monday because Tuesday Smash. We play Smash. That's what Tuesday is.
So it was 2 years ago.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm
Monday, though, I was playing the Pokemon Violet Nuzlocke that I started before Tears of the Kingdom came out, and stopped because Tears of the Kingdom came out. So I went back to that,
right?
And that made me tight because I'm like playing it, I'm like going through the game, and everything's fine and good and all that stuff, right?
Until it wasn't.
Yeah, until it wasn't. I don't even remember what the initial Pokemon that I lost was, but it was an important Pokemon. And I was like, I just can't win this if I don't catch something else. So now I went and I tried to catch an Azumarill. That Azumarill was on a level past the level cap. So I was like, well, that's not going to work. I got to go somewhere else. And I went somewhere else and I was like, that's also past the level cap. So then I eventually just was like, man, F this level cap. As long as I don't grind to get there, I don't care about the level cap. And it's not even like it was that far. Like the level cap was like 21 and these Pokemon are like 23. So I was like, I don't care about that. I'm not restarting the game because the game won't give me Pokemon that are under the level cap. So I'm battling and I'm like playing against the gym leader. Or no, this was even before the gym leader. I had a Sandile and it had Moxie. And for those that don't know what Moxie is whenever you beat a Pokemon with your Pokemon, you get an attack boost. So it's a snowball sort of situation. And then the hubris got to me. I was like, oh, I have Moxie. I can get 2 Moxie boosts right here. And I'm just going to knock out whatever Pokemon comes. I don't care about that. And it was a water type Pokemon. No, it was, what's that Pokemon called? Meowscarada's, middle stage. That cat.
Middle cat.
Yeah, the middle cat. I was like, I'm fine. I'm probably faster than that Pokemon. Pokemon's like 4 or 5 levels weaker than me. I was not faster than that Pokemon, and it one-shot me. But I was like, before I did that, because I had like a 75% like likelihood in my head even that I was wrong. Like I knew I was going to lose this Pokemon, but I was like, I gotta do it for the content, man. You gotta take the risk.
Just goofing.
So then I took the risk and I lost, and I was like, oh, rip. I lost that Pokemon. So then I was like, okay, we're fine though. We're fine. We got other Pokemon. I get to the gym leader and I'm not fine. I lose. And I got to I got to a point where I'm like battling her and I'm using, which Pokemon is it? It's a Pokemon that definitely was not good against her. I think it was a Azumarill. It was a Azumarill. So I'm like, okay, I'm gonna use a Azumarill. It's fine. She's a Electric Gym, but still, I got huge power, which for people that don't know what huge power does, it doubles your attack, basically. Your physical attack set. So I'm like, I'm fine. I'm just gonna kill this thing. Azumarill's like pretty bulky. Like, it can live. I got 3 of her Pokemon, and then I got down to my last Pokemon, because Azumarill died, rip Azumarill. And it just came down to a coin flip because I was paralyzed and it was the whole thing. So I lost the Pokemon. I was like, that is cringe. So fast forward to Wednesday, I was like, I have to get my run back. And Wednesday was just doing the tutorial. The whole stream was that. I was doing the tutorial.
You got the best starter though.
It's like 2 hours.
So you're good to go.
So chat hates me, clearly. For these streams, for Nuzlocke streams, I like chat vote on what starter I'm going to use. And both of these games, like in Sword and Shield and Scarlet and Violet, there's always one starter that is the wrong option. Always. Every single time. This one specifically is because I just don't like this Pokemon. Or I like Fuecoco. It's Fuecoco. But I don't like the evolutions. So I told Chad, I was like, yo, if we give away Coco, I'm not evolving it. I refuse. So you're resolving yourselves to watching me do hard mode here. Because chat, again, this is another thing. Chat hates watching me do hard mode. I'm like, yo, let's do, I want to do it so that I can't do in-battle heals. I'm not going to terrestrialize. Chat's like, no, do all of that stuff. You got to terrestrialize. Use heals, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, whatever, man. So they're no fun. So we got freaking Fuecoco again. It's cringe. And nothing happened yet. We're not even to the point where Pokemon can even do the thing that is the point of this, which is they teach themselves their own moves and they only learn moves that they want to learn. But nobody has 4 moves yet. Except for Fuecoco, I think. So I'll update you guys on that next time. But that's where we're at right now. Also still playing Street Fighter. That game's fun.
Nice.
Yeah. I think that's all I'm playing.
Good stuff.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm still playing friggin' Story of Seasons. Still a good game.
Oh Yeah, and that's out now.
Yes, it's out now. I was watching. So after the Tuesday stream, me and Lee rated somebody else playing it that Lee's like friends with. And I'm like talking to her because she's like also played this game growing up, and she's like a big fan of it and stuff like that. And I'm like, so when I'm playing this game, there's the mechanic I was talking about before that's like it just like has aimbot on like when you're watering your crops. Or really doing anything when you're planting seeds, like anything that the game can be like, well, you probably want to go here next. For the most part, it has aimbot. So I'm telling her about that, and like every time I talk about this to somebody, they're like, "That's nice," you know. But she like freaked out. She's like, "Oh my god, this is the best thing ever." She's like, "Thank you so." She thanked me multiple times. I'm playing Smash Brothers after we raid her, and I'm like, not, I can't like be attentive to chat. But Lee's still in there. He's like, "Yo, she's thank you for the thing." I'm like, "Yeah, it's a good feature. It's the best feature in the game. Like that's the best quality of life thing for a farming sim ever." That I don't have, because most of the time it's mad annoying to water crops because you got to like line it up with the tile and stuff. But you could just mash the button. Big W. The rest of the game's a W.
Yeah, that's awesome.
That's the biggest W. But yeah, that's all I'm playing. Okay, we can go to Q&A now. Q&A.
Nice. Here we go. Q&A. M. Skelton, at TooManyGames, how many games were there? Round to the nearest whole number. Is that too many, or should there have been more?
There were many games. Wood bought a lot of games at GameStop, apparently.
There was at least 20 games. There could have been more.
There was definitely
but at least 20.
I think Wood bought like 200.
Oh yeah,
like went to GameStop and bought every Switch game that they had, according to Wood.
He bought a GameStop.
Yeah, he bought a GameStop worth of Nintendo Switch games. And then that was
for the purpose of giving it away on the
panel.
Okay,
they did Q&A. And everybody asked the question, got to grab a game out of the bag, and then that was the collateral. They had to come to the booth.
Man,
but yeah,
that's crazy.
Many games.
Many games.
I don't think I've ever. Actually, that's not true.
Was it enough games?
I don't think I've ever played a game at TooManyGames at the convention, but that's not true. There was one time that me and Bob played this like fishing thing. At like TooManyGames 2019, I think. That was a game. It wasn't good.
Yeah, I usually check out the indie games. I didn't get a chance to this year, obviously.
Yeah.
And it's the first year I didn't buy any games there. I did get some controllers, though. So
Nice.
One day I'll buy something at TooManyGames. One day. I wanted to.
What would you say is like the main appeal of TooManyGames, or like the main kind of thing for TooManyGames versus like PAX or whatever? Like, because I know there's vendors,
retro games. It's definitely retro games.
Yeah, retro games. They have like a lot of tournaments there too.
They have tournaments. They have a really big arcade with a lot of the biggest arcade games you would think of that should be there. They also it is a pretty cool convention to go to because I didn't see it this year, but again, I didn't walk around as much. I'm sure they had the same thing as they did last year, where they have like 100 TVs set up with all different consoles on it, from like Atari all the way up to new stuff. And they have tournaments going on for that. They have a big Dance Dance Revolution thing and a karaoke thing. They do a lot of stuff for people coming to check things out. There's definitely plenty to do.
They also have this cosplay wrestling thing. I forgot to mention that.
Yes.
So there was a cosplay wrestling thing on Saturday, and it was happening at the same time as Bob and Wood's panel. And we were talking about going to that, especially Kayla. Kayla was like, I gotta see that.
Kayla was hyped.
So we went to their panel, and then Kayla was like, I'm ready to leave. And I was like, all right, let's go. So then we stopped by the booth, and like, all right, we're going to the wrestling thing. And we went to the wrestling thing, and Wario was fighting somebody. I don't remember who was fighting Wario, but Wario won. He got the W. So
good job, Wario.
Good for Wario.
He's always had the W.
True.
Right there on his hat, you know?
True. Wario. I mean, a W. But yeah, that happened. There's games and there's stuff and people.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Next question. Mark asked, what are the top 3 most tossable foods?
Tomatoes. That's probably number one. That's probably number one.
I mean, are we grouping fruit together? Because I mean, you could just pick all fruits.
Yeah, but tomatoes.
You should say apple, orange, and tomato.
I think tomato is better. Because like
I would say, okay. I feel like the problem with orange is the peel. Like, obviously you can
How
toss
much
it
are
well,
you trying
but like,
to hurt this person is the question.
I mean, that
True.
or like, if you like throw it at a wall, like it's tomato in theory, like,
Yeah, true.
Whereas an orange might have a harder time doing that. Like, I don't know how much force it would take.
I guess it depends on how.
Maybe that
ripe
makes it more tossable. I don't know.
Well, we're just going for throwing
that's
it.
true. Yeah,
So-
I mean, yeah, if it's just
Yeah,
like
why are we throwing it?
closest to a baseball,
Like, which one's
Yeah.
the most aerodynamic or like the most?
We need more info.
Yeah. But I still say tomato.
between,
Yeah, tomatoes
yeah.
the classic.
Tomato.
and if we're just going throwing, then yeah, I think orange totally, and like lemon or lime, something like that. Like a lime's kind of small, and something about that could be good, but it doesn't feel like a toss at that point. It feels like a pile drive. I don't know.
Eggs.
Not a pile drive. I don't know what that means.
I'm switching out limes for eggs.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, eggs are solid.
They're not. I mean, they are, but they're not.
Definitely not spaghetti.
Yeah, true. Spaghetti.
True.
Not good.
But meatballs, like
Meatballs,
a kind of
yes.
sizable meatball,
Yeah, it has to be
Yeah.
like a big meatball.
Yeah.
I mean, there's places that'll sell like, you get
like
an
the
appetizer and
big
just like 2
meatball on top
meatballs.
of
Get like a
like-
nice 8-ounce meatball.
Yeah. But even then,
Yeah, I know how
like
much
the
ounces
meatball
are.
is like it's like coagulated, broken up meat.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
get,
not like
get
necess-
sauce all over your hands.
Yeah.
Like it's not.
Or like slip out of your hand, like the dodgeball balls that we'd play with like pea and stuff. It always felt nicer to throw the rubber ones, but they're so big,
Yeah.
and like that it's just kind of cumbersome. Whereas those little ones would go are way easier to
So you
hold.
really get
but
some
they don't,
velocity
like-
on it.
They're not as good.
Yeah.
And they don't make it as good of a sound.
It's true. The doing, doing. Yeah. What a nice time. I think that's a great list though. Orange, tomato, and egg feels.
Yeah.
Orange, if you want to hurt somebody, I think that's the closest one that you're doing.
Yeah. So I thought we were just going like distance throw, but yeah.
Yeah.
All right. There's that one.
Next one. Thrillhouse asked, "How does one podcast?" Asking for a friend.
I'm gonna pay
Matt, do you
attention
have
to
any
this one.
response to this?
Yeah. How do you
just-
podcast?
You get your camera set up, you try to remember what's been said, and then you usually forget it and just ramble on a little bit.
It's true. It's just a phone call. That's all it is. It's a
Yeah.
phone call. You get people you like talking to and you talk. That's it.
Exactly.
Pretty much. Yep. RPS Thrillhouse giveaway win.
Ooh. I will do one eventually.
You gotta do like
Maybe I'll do something to get some followers on the
you gotta
old
do, like,
Instagram.
follower goals or something like that.
Yeah.
Do it like that.
I mean, if it's a Thrillhouse giveaway, there's a wedding joke in there somewhere. But I mean, I guess Kayla's going to be the one to be given away. But that's put him, with your dad, like here, that whole thing.
We can workshop. We'll workshop that one a little bit.
Oh, that was the workshop. We already did it,
Yeah.
and now
Yeah.
it died, and we're never using it again. So there you go.
Moving on.
The
Indeed. You can't throw through a video. Let asked. So you think Arms will get a sequel? Should it?
I don't know.
No, but it should.
I don't know. That's like the type
Yes, but it shouldn't.
I think
Just kidding,
that is the type of game made by the type of company that sold well enough for them to be like, it depends on what you guys want to do. Like if the producer's like still super passionate about that game, they're making another one. But if he's not, then they won't.
Also, to throw into the mix, like especially coming off of the Mario plus Rabbids sequel that I can't remember the name for right now.
Sparks
of Hope. Yes.
Or Sparks. I don't know if it's
and
more than one Spark. I didn't play the game.
We'll never know. Especially coming off of that, and that they had been told by Nintendo, hey, probably this is the kind of thing you should do once per console generation. Just knowing that, like, obviously we've seen Nintendo do that with a lot of series, like Animal Crossing, always one per generation, it's not more. And tons of other examples. Typically, 3D
I think usually
Mario
that's like
or
their
whatever.
target, just period.
Yeah.
Like sometimes
Yeah.
that there's exceptions to that, like Zelda, right? There's more than one
Yep.
new Zelda game on the Nintendo Switch, but not really? You know, like they did Tears of the Kingdom. That's the Nintendo Switch Zelda game. Breath of the Wild was because Wii U was a flop, but that was the Wii U Zelda game. So they usually try to adhere to that too. Like even Splatoon, where it was like Splatoon 2 was like
that's what I was gonna say,
trying to like Splatoon 2 specifically was them being like, we can get more out of this franchise than we got with Splatoon 1. And then with Splatoon 3, it's like, okay, let's make the Nintendo Switch Splatoon game now. I think that will probably be more likely to get one Splatoon game next platform, depending on how long that platform lasts. But that would be my assumption.
I mean, and
yeah, I was gonna say that's
like
kind of what
games
has to do with
like
too.
Smash, you know. Sorry, Matt, what were you saying?
No, I was just saying I feel like the length of the console's life has something to do with it too. Because most of the times it's only a couple of years as opposed to something like the Switch that's been going forever.
Yeah, it's like double what they usually are. They're usually like 5 years max for Nintendo.
And then you have Mario Kart, which has lasted like 45 years now.
I'm so done. Stop buying Mario Kart. Don't buy it anymore until they make a new one. Jesus Christ.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think to that point, you know, I think if ARMS is going to get a sequel, I think it'll just wait for next gen. And I think it would be cool if it did, as long as it isn't just an incremental upgrade kind of a thing. Like it was early on in the Switch days. I wanted to buy games and I played the demo for ARMS. I thought mechanically it was cool, but as just like a single player person, there just wasn't enough for me to bother with. And that's just the kind of thing, like, I think it's great when they kind of give a little bit for everybody. And there's plenty of games that they don't do that for. Yeah. So it's not to say that this would be one that they would choose to, but it's one that would be cool. Yeah,
I was about to say, I wouldn't bet on that. Because at the end of the day, it's a fighting game, and fighting games usually like are steadfast in that. Like there's like some exceptions, and those are like the top of the top. You know, those are Smash Brothers, those are Street Fighters, and even Street Fighter. Like last go around, they're like, it's a fighting game. We're not doing arcade mode. You want arcade mode? Are you stupid? But this one, they're like, okay, fine. We'll give you the World Tour mode and like all that stuff. I don't think ARMS is there yet in terms of like where they feel like they need to like cater to everybody. I think they want to like win over their like scene, you know, and then expand from there once they feel like, okay, we got people now, you know.
Yep.
That's how it read to me.
So yeah.
But yeah.
And I think at that point, I'm not the person to ask because, you know, if it's me wanting it for me, then that's the kind of thing that it would need to have. And it's just entirely possible. That's just not a franchise for me at that point, which is totally fine. So then it's like, yeah, are there enough fans out there of it as it is, plus the incremental upgrade kind of thing that could be there? And probably.
And I mean, I agree either way. I don't think it should be an incremental upgrade. I just don't know if what they would invest in would be to make it more of like something that it's not, you know?
Yeah, right.
More so they're like, okay, how do we make it a better fighting game? And then build out from there.
Yeah, because it feels more like a just game you take out when you have people over. So no, I play that with my nephew every once in a while, and it's a lot of fun for the 20-30 minutes we play, and then it's like, all right, you're going back in the case for a couple years.
Yeah.
So
yeah, makes sense. Last question. Mark again asks, all right, now what's the least tossable food?
Watermelon.
I did a spaghetti.
I was going to say, Matt already said
good.
spaghetti.
I mean, yeah, spaghetti. Turkey.
Oh, just like slice?
No.
Like a whole
thin
turkey?
sliced deli meat?
Like a full turkey.
The whole entire Thanksgiving.
The whole thing.
Yeah. Well, okay, here's the other thing. A wrinkle to put in the like watermelons and like if you kind of like toss something off of a bridge, you know, something like that where it like lands on the ground or off of a building or whatever. Is it still considered like tossing it?
I think that's.
I mean, it is more like a drop, but if you give it a little like, you know,
did they say toss or throw? Because toss can be underhand, but a throw's got to be overhand, just like one arm.
So it says tossable. So like to me, those you know that could be a wrinkle in it, but it could also not. So it's you know,
I think
gray area.
when I'm thinking tossing food, I'm thinking throwing it.
Chucking it.
Yeah.
Yeah, just
I
one
think,
hand
like,
sling.
I think like off a bridge is dropping it. Like that's in the drop category. And like when I'm thinking of something like large and cumbersome, like you could throw it, sure, but it's more annoying to throw a turkey than like a full turkey than it is to throw a freaking egg, you know?
True. Oh, so I'd say spaghetti for sure. One of the big things like watermelon or turkey or something. Soup.
Yeah, soup.
Soup
Anything
would be
like
very
just
difficult to
super
throw.
hot, like anything like really hot.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So there it is.
There's the podcast.
Foods. And with that, that's the
Nailed it.
podcast.
We did.
Matt, thank you again so much for coming. Do you want to
Thanks for
plug things
having
one
me.
more time before you go?
I think everything's going to be down in the description. Like I said, Twitch and Twitter, same name as you see on the screen. And that's it. Thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah, thanks for coming.
Of course. All right. Do all this stuff. Like, comment, subscribe. The podcast is going away forever. But the next episode is going to be cool. We're going to have Bob. We're going to have Dan. It's going to be a great old good time. It'll be happy and fun. Subscribe to the channel. Tell your friends.
Yay.
Goodbye.
Bye.